Welcome to Demolition Success Secrets, the podcast that's changing the game for demolition businesses everywhere. Ever wondered how a wrecking ball wielding industry can leverage digital marketing to dominate their market? Well, we've got the blueprints, strategies, expert guests, and more to show you how. Stay tuned, because we're about to blast through the barriers of your business.
Welcome to another episode of Demolition Success Secrets. We have two rock stars, one who I've known for a long time, one who I'm just getting to know, but I'm thinking we will get to know each other for the long haul. I have Justin and I have Dylan. Welcome to the show, gang.
How you doing, Chayton? Thanks for having us, buddy. You're rocking
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Dylan, what's going on?
What's up, man?
Yeah. Pumped to have you guys. So, all right, guys, this is a fun one. This is a unique one. I've never had any bankers on the show. Have never really had anyone touch on lines of credit. Of course, plenty of our guests have talked about how they're very, very important in the demolition world. They have talked about equipment financing. We have had equipment people on the show. They kind of touch on financing. But these two, in my eyes, are really awesome for unique financing, for traditional. They're not, bankers at Wells Fargo or Chase Bank or anything. These guys are kind of like secret agents. But they can pull off some really cool stuff that, frankly, in my opinion, gets past a lot of the fluff and the BS that's out there, just trying to operate and run a big business. So, yeah, guys, tell me about the business. Help me understand what you guys do.
Absolutely. Well, me and Dylan are the owners of FT3 Capital. Basically what we do is we specialize in helping financing for the construction industry and some other verticals as well, but we really focus on financing big yellow iron equipment, cranes, pretty much any heavy metal that needs to be done on a construction site. We have various different types of funding where we could, get you funding on the leasing side, financing the equipment outright, or, get you other lines of credit, or term loans, anything to facilitate basically your end goal. We get very creative with in finding that solution for you.
Love it. Awesome. Dylan, any little hidden gems in addition to what Justin just went through there?
No, I mean, he hit it on the head right there. We definitely get creative in our solutions, right? My biggest thing here with all this stuff is just a holistic approach, right? And we're not just trying to get you, into a piece of equipment and then never talk to you again. That's our big thing, right? Mm-hmm. We're trying to make partnerships. I want to know, your favorite sports team. If you're a Patriots fan, I'm definitely not going to help you out. Big Jets fan. But no, we really want to create a partnership, try to help entrepreneurs, whatever stage they're at. So, I mean, even, hey, I'm looking to start up a company, right? And I need access to capital. Let's take a look at your profile and see if we can come up with a solution for you.
Awesome. Yeah, love it. Let's try to go through some case studies or some scenarios. Let's say you're a smaller demo company. You're starting off, you probably have some experience, right? I mean, I'd assume you're not going to get into the business just on a whim. Some people do. We even had some guests who had no idea and magically they made it work and they're really successful these days. But let's say a guy or a gal, they've been in the business for 10 years. They're, now going off on their own. What are some of the things that may come up? Equipment, of course, being able to pay team members. Maybe you guys can kind of just go through some of those instances. Like, let's say equipment. What does that look like getting with you guys?
Sure. Well, one thing that I do want to point out, especially if they're a newer company coming up and in, they realize they probably rented the equipment that they're thinking about purchasing, right? So, anybody who's rented equipment knows exactly what I'm about to say is it costs you an arm and a leg. Right. So, if you're able to, understand business as a whole and really prepare yourself, because a lot of these guys get into business and they don't know all the steps and all the things that are necessary to growing the business. Like anybody can go and start an LLC, but, you're not going to be able to complete a job, or you're going to be able, or your margins are going to be cut by a lot if you don't have the credit and you don't have like the down payment or the collateral or the money to actually get you into the equipment to complete the job. So when you have a low credit score and you didn't do that planning before you started the business and start bidding on contracts and government contracts, when you rent an equipment, depending on how many days out of the month you're renting, you're going to be way overpaying. So that's one thing that, we find a lot of people that, they have rented the equipment and all of a sudden they realize after doing that for a few months that, damn, they could have paid for half the piece of equipment in 6 months instead of renting it from, Lowe's or Home Depot.
Got it. Okay. So that's the equipment piece. Let's talk about team members. Maybe is real estate a play? What about those two things with you guys?
We could definitely help out on the real estate side. Honestly, those are probably some of the verticals that we work in the most. They are case by case situations, right? Especially on that side, they are very unique, every single one of them, because everybody's situation is different. But I feel like the real estate transactions typically tend to be very unique. And have their different, just a lot of hands in the pot and a lot of things to get figured out. So every situation is unique. And here's the deal with it. A lot of people are they're nervous to just get like started on it, right? They might just think that I know I'm not going to qualify, or I'm not going to get the greatest terms. It's like, you'd be surprised how many times we put people through and, comes back with a phenomenal number that makes sense for the business, makes sense for, ROI, on what you're trying to get done. So a lot of time people are scared to get started in that space, right? And the biggest thing, you just got to jump in and see, right? All we can tell you is no, but a closed mouth doesn't get fed. You know what I mean? So understand, you got to ask, you got to try to qualify, you got to talk to a couple different people, right? And that's part of our job, right? Use our network, use the people that we, have spent a lot of time developing relationships with to get done what you're trying to get done.
That's awesome.
Just to go off of what Dylan said, I did want to touch on, we are a direct lender. But we're a direct lender that we can lend anywhere from 25,000 all the way up to 10 million on deals that our underwriters want to take in-house. But we do have a network of 50 other lenders that if we're not able to do it in-house, we have a network of people that specialize in construction and equipment financing and stuff like that. So there's no real, unless you get into the 10 million plus, we can really touch aggressively and go after and find a solution for anything under that.
Got it. Okay. Now, I think I know the answers to these, but I think our audience might be kind of curious on it. What separates you guys from, let's say, the bank? The traditional, I think I know really well what you're about to tell me, but they're like, hey, man, I don't know these guys. I'm just getting to learn about them and stuff. Why would I call them, reach out on the internet, that kind of thing, when I can go down the street to Wells Fargo, Chase, that kind of thing? What separates you guys so much from those sorts of options?
Absolutely. I'll touch on it quick, and then I know Dylan's got some good answers for this. So we are basically alternative lending. Basically, when Wells Fargo, Bank of America, all of their applicants, they don't look at anybody, right? A startup is anywhere from, 1 month to 2 years. So a lot of these big corporate banks, you have to have your ducks in a row, like to a T. The application process takes a lot longer. You really have to you got to be, A paper to get approved. They decline 90% of their applicants. So especially in the construction industry, a lot of times that's where we see a lot of people coming to us for alternative ways of getting financed. So, if you have the 820 credit score and you've been in business for 10 years and you're making $5 million a year, you're going to get a cheaper rate at Wells Fargo, right? But the paperwork, the process is going to be a little elongated with us. We're for the people right below, right? So like our rates are one tab below, prime or prime plus one, what they say. So, anybody who is, having a little difficult with their credit score or unable to show, time in business or monthly revenue, these banks really look at facet of things, right? They look at your balances, They look at how many times you've been negative, right? There's a million things that an underwriter goes through when seeing if we can approve them for a loan. And, that's where we come in. We have lenders that will only work with A paper. And then we have lenders that will work with people with 500 and above credit scores. So that's the difference between us and, a Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo isn't going to look at anybody under a 720, and you have to have everything in a row, picture perfect. We can look at pretty much anything and, find a solution for it.
Awesome. Dylan, what you got?
Absolutely. Just to piggyback off it just a little bit, right? We are definitely in the alternative lending space, right? Let's not, shy away from that at all, right? We're definitely in that space. The biggest difference with us with FT3 is all of our funding advisors, Justin and I included, right? We're all entrepreneurs ourselves, right? So you have a bunch of different alternative lenders, right? They're probably an employee. That's the only thing they do there. Every single one of our guys that we work with, they own their own business, right? Whether, this one right now that they're working through, or they've had multiple businesses. So we could just speak to you on a different level, understand the hardships that you're going through and the victories, right? I'm not sure how many funding advisors you're going to talk to that, you're running, hey, this is my marketing plan that I'm going to be doing for, the upcoming season or something like that. So we just bring a different perspective to it, to be honest with you. And I think our approach too is whatever capital you're going to go and seek, or lending that you're trying to go to seek, we want to make sure that your company is able to support it, right? There's a lot of people get you all you want, right? Here's the money, see you later, right? But you're not going to be here in a year because you're going to put yourself under, right? If it doesn't make sense, we're not just trying to sell you on getting you some money, right? That's not the point of what we're trying to do here. Trying to help you grow, trying to take you to whatever level you want to go to. We're going to match your intensity of how you want to grow your business, right? And just, want to be a complete partner in that sense.
Yeah, love it. So I think I know a lot of these answers. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I would love to hear from you guys, the people who think kind of in the Dave Ramsey mind. I agree with some of the Dave Ramsey types, and I also highly disagree with some of that, where they say, hey, you know what? I'm going to grow my business steady and slow. I don't need anyone else's money. Meanwhile, this guy's got $1,000 in his pocket. He's trying to grow a real business. It doesn't make any sense. But what would you say for maybe some people who are listening to us and they go, man, grandpa made this company, or multiple generations in, maybe we should take on loans or debt, maybe we shouldn't. What's kind of the angle there?
To piggyback what Dylan said about being an entrepreneur, we could definitely relate to these guys a lot more, right? I did construction for a number of years when I was younger. I understand all the different facets that go into it. To understand what they're doing, one thing that I've learned in running 4 different businesses, going through the ups and downs, is if I didn't get a loan, then I wouldn't be in business. And people really need to be educated on learning, because it's hard, right? It's scary going to a bank and taking on this big lump sum loan, and you got to put it to work, right? You got to make sure, just because you get 100 grand or 200 grand in your bank account doesn't mean that you're rich. But one thing that, I've learned over the years, because I've done it personally, is, a loan isn't considered income, right? So it could really help you out in times of need, but you really got to have a plan as to how you're going to make money, right? Are you going to hire people? Then fine. You got to have a plan. You can't just go out there and recruit somebody. You need to understand how long it's going to take that person to give you a return on investment, whether they're going to be in sales, whether they're going to be a crane operator, whether you're going to put money towards marketing and hire a marketing team to generate you leads, right? Like, that loan is not going to go away, but it is going to if you talk to all entrepreneurs, most of the entrepreneurs in America, they have taken a loan. And one of the things that I always see, I surround myself with people who like to listen to motivational speakers and successful business owners. And a lot of the times I hear them say is, what are the one thing that they wish that they did more? And a lot of them say, I wish I borrowed more money, because it could catapult you so much faster. The amount of time it's going to take for you to save 100 grand, that's a lot of money. It takes a long time to save that. But if you cleaned up your credit and you kept your books in order and you did right, then why wouldn't you borrow 100 grand so that you can catapult and, secure that government contract or secure that next piece of work, because you're able to buy a bulldozer or you're able to buy an excavator so that you can make an extra 200 grand this year on a few different projects.
Yeah, love it. Dylan, any thoughts on the Dave
Yeah,
Ramsey of debt?
I totally agree with Justin. A lot of stuff he said here. The Dave Ramsey model and not taking on debt, right? We're probably not going to be working with you, right? We're probably not going to be working with two different mindsets of how we want to grow the business, right? We understand, what the debt could do to you, right? And nobody likes taking out having debt on your balance sheet, and you could freak you out a little bit. But like Justin said, like having a plan for the money to make money, right? That's a big thing. So if you're taking out money just to cover the light bill, right, and maybe pay off a personal car like that you're using for work, like it ain't gonna work, right? But if you're gonna put it into something that's gonna return it 3, 4, 5, 10 times over, right, it makes sense all day. I think a lot of it is just like mindset when it comes to it, and just like I said, we got to match our intensity of what we're trying to do and make sure we're on the same page in terms of how you want to grow it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and money makes money type of thing.
Yeah,
you're in business, right? Like you're already taking risk, and you could do the whole spin of if you work for someone else, you're taking risk because now you're letting their dream play out or not play out. Like businesses work and don't work. So just because you're under someone else's building or their roof doesn't mean that that's a safe thing either. So, I mean, I trust myself to a decent level. You guys probably do yourselves. I would trust myself a lot more than other people in certain instances. So you got to kind of educate and roll the dice, because it's tough, man. There's not a lot of stories of a guy having $1 and making anything that's a substantial amount of wealth that anyone's really jealous of. Like I'm not that excited by a guy who made $1,000 and it took him a year. It's cool, I guess. In this demolition world, the numbers that we see can be pretty big, whether it's the equipment, whether it's the contracts, whether it's payroll, those kinds of things. A lot of these guys, they have to have real estate too, which is great with you guys. They have to have land to put the equipment, because they slowly but surely will add up machinery. Even if they're renting things, they got it on a trailer. Where does the trailer go? You can't just leave it in the street. You got to put it somewhere safe. You can't keep it at your house unless you live, on a lot of land. So yeah, this is super helpful. Do you guys have any cool little stories, case studies, examples, whether it's under your own company or in your network of people, where you've heard some pretty cool, awesome things happen for clients?
I mean, there's a number of stories, but it's just good to hear when people put their money to work and it's actually helping, because I came from trucking. Chayton, I met you in the trucking industry, and, but dealing with that industry, and we still deal with people in that industry. But dealing with that industry, it's just very difficult to hear success stories, because I know the stat, 80% of trucking companies in the beginning go out of business. So it's kind of hard to hear success stories. But when I hear that, hey, I just landed this job because you were able to get me the financing for an excavator, which increased my income, landed me $150,000 over the next 3 months. Like, that's the kind of success stories that we like to hear.
Yeah, those are fun. We like to share the success stories here, and it's real interesting because on the podcast, we hear the ups and the downs. Even some of these big companies, I'm talking like 3 generations. I can't tell you how shocking it is when people say, yeah, grandpa started the company, and I'm talking to like grandson at this point, but grandson is now 50 years old. He's like, man, 07, 08 kicked our ass. And I'm like, really? Like, y'all had 3 generations of wealth? Like, I think you're a kingpin at that point. Your company does $60 million a year. Like, what are you talking about? So that's where, even more value to you guys. Like, if anyone's listening to this and going, oh, I got 600,000 in the bank, we're really growing, our company's doing fine. Maybe your credit's challenged. Maybe you got divorced. Maybe you're about to get a divorce. You don't even know it. I hope not. But there's certain instances where people like y'all are kind of like a godsend. Like in my world, I've done real estate stuff. And man, you can't be a great real estate investor dealing with these big banks. I mean, honestly, it's insanity. I ended up going alternative routes because you could work with a hedge fund, or you could work with a direct lender, or you could work with a private lender, private money, that kind of thing, hard money. So I think with what you guys are doing, it speaks a lot to our industry, because there are a lot of men and women who have a dream in this space, who really, really want to go do good, awesome work. And they're maybe just one loan away, one piece of equipment away, whatever it is. And they're getting shied away because they don't fit in these boxes. And these boxes, they're made for like perfect people who've never who've never had a screw up or lived a real life experience. What other kind of additional things do you guys have on mind, or that you want to kind of touch with our audience?
I'd like to say, it would really blow you away as to how many people who you would consider, to be a millionaire, you know what I mean? Have 2 or 3 houses, their company making, 500,000 a month in revenue, and their credit's shot, and they have a very hard time getting a loan. It's crazy. They just because their business could be sustaining itself, but not really leaving a big balance at the end, and they're making 500,000 but blowing through 480 on payroll, renting equipment, all some other loans and financings that they have out there. As you grow, your bills grow, right? These guys, they hire more people, they invest into more equipment. They might have 2 different, locations to gain, just bigger projects to earn, right? It's all about the face of who you are, depending on the level of a jobs that you guys are overcoming. But it's crazy to think how some of these guys who are making that much money, how they have a hard time by getting financing through their original bank. And that's why a lot of times they come to us for the alternative lending.
I agree. Just to piggyback just a little bit on that, is getting access to capital, whether it's for equipment, payroll, whatever you're trying to do. It's definitely an art, right? And banks, lenders, anybody doesn't want to lend money to people who need money, right? So when the going is good, that's when you should be securing the capital. I don't care how good things are going, right? Banks, lenders want to work with people that are that don't need the money, right? They know that they have the money there to pay back the loan, right? Just understanding that, right? When the going's good, you got to go seek capital, right? Just to pour some gasoline on the fire, so to speak, and let that thing explode, right? Don't wait till, hey, we're falling on hard times, right? Don't wait till 2 of your excavators are down, and Jimmy, John, and Joe just quit and went and worked with the competitor, right? You can't wait till things bad, because once the numbers go down, right, and they start seeing that, they turn their back on you. So when the going's good, you got to jump on it, right? And not just wait.
Very good point. Especially in construction, you can have a job where, he made $1 million last year, but then he decided to go on vacation with his wife in Tulum, and the fact that he didn't have any income coming in for the last 2 months, I mean, that's gonna severely hurt his lending options, right? So then at that point, then we have other alternatives for that. But then we have to go into like collateralized. Do you have any pieces of equipment that you own outright that we can put up for collateral? Do you have any real estate that we can put up for collateral? But that just complicates the goal of financing this one piece of equipment. So it just makes things a lot difficult when the revenue isn't consistent.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's almost like, when do you buy a house? To some extent, you could say when it's the perfect conditions, but when it's the perfect conditions, right? It's like almost any time within reason, there's always solutions like refinancing, that kind of thing, that you can stick in the same house. Yeah, maybe you bought high, maybe you bought low, whatever it is, you have to be consistent. It's like, when do I start my business? Well, there are some idealized things for, some sort of capital, or maybe a potential for a contract if you are able to be in business to take it. Sometimes you start a business, you start it in a recession just to prove to yourself that you can make it through that. You're really going to be killing it when times are good. So moral of the story with that is, any time is a good time to get in touch with these two. I guess ideally, If you're really rocking and rolling, that's an even better time. However, how are you going to know where you stand without getting in touch with them? Get in touch with them regardless. Figure out, build a relationship. They're pretty, real, honest guys. I've known Justin, like I said, for a while now. He'll let you know. He'll help you out the best he can, and that can be by being honest and transparent and real. And that can also be by telling you, like, which is honest, transparent, and real too. Like, hey, you're doing great. Like, we want to work with you immediately. But sometimes he'll have to lean you the other way and say, hey, like, to be honest, it's not a fit. Maybe this is a solution. Maybe this is some stuff you should work on. And over the next few weeks or months, we can get you in a more ideal spot so you can really just take off with our program. I like that you guys have a lot of different options. I know there was a time that I was again buying a lot of real estate and stuff, and I went on the websites for, I don't know, what's one of those big ones you go on and you just type in your info and it's maybe 10 different, they'll give you loan options and stuff. Oh, it's a big one out there.
I can't think of it else.
Lending Tree.
It was horrible. It was Lending Tree.
Yeah.
Horrible. Yeah. Worst thing, I swear, that was years ago. I still get calls.
Oh yeah.
I still get texts. I mean, I think it's almost like those sports advisors, if you ever have heard about them, where they'll get a lead and they like help you break the bookies and stuff. They help you pick out games that are going to win. It's wild. But you'll be like, I'm not interested. Bye. Take me off your list. Boom. And then the guy's like elbowing his buddy. He's like, hey, here's his number. Call him in an hour. But tell him you're from a different company or whatever, and they go back and forth. Eventually the guy's like, is this the same? Like, I talked to you 3 hours ago. I told you to get lost. Now you made a new company. And they're like, yeah, we'll see if we get you one way or another. It's horrible. I much, much, much rather wish that you guys were, available back then, and I could have just reached out and not gotten spammed for what seems the rest of my life. So be careful to our audience while you're out there. Like, be very, very choosy of who you work with or how you give out your information. Because, we talked about the big banks. They're not always a fit, as we've concluded. And then you have the stuff like those guys, Lending Tree and stuff. And just from my personal experience, they just sell your info to everyone and anyone and just batter you. With these guys, like I said, they'll shoot you straight and tell you what's up one way or another. Tell me some about the process. Let's hear about the process. I know it varies from equipment to a standard loan type of thing, but you mentioned timelines. What is the legwork for me or someone who's listening typically look like from, giving you guys materials? What sorts of materials on average? What sorts of timelines on average? Any of those kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'll touch base on it. So typically, when somebody comes in, we have just a simple qualifier, probably take you under 30 seconds to complete. And it just gives us a quick snapshot of kind of where you're at, right? Time in business, what's your credit score, what industry are you in? And just gives us a quick overview, right, to start the conversation, right? We'll jump on the line. We'll learn a little bit about what you're doing, right? And what you're trying to, accomplish with whatever funding it is, whether equipment or, working capital, term loan, a line of credit. What we'll do is we'll collect some docs. Typically we require, depending on the loan size, bare minimum, 4 months of the business bank statements, right? We'll have to collect like your ID, and we have a 1-page application that will probably take you another under 2 minutes to complete. Once we get that, we'll get it to our underwriting team to see if it's a good fit for our direct relationships in-house here. And if it's not, right away, go out to our partners and see who the best fit is. Obviously, we'll collect all the data, keep you in the loop every step of the way, and present the options that we get, right? And the biggest thing is like, we're going to get you what you qualify for, right? And that's a big understanding, right? A lot of times people think there's a lot of negotiating room in here. I'm going to be honest with you. You're going to get what you qualify for. So like, oh, can you do it for $5,000 a month, right? For this huge excavator? It's like, I could do it for $7,000. And they're like, yeah, it's $5,000, right? So we got to take what we qualify for, if that makes sense. So very easy process, right? We're doing the legwork. We're trying to keep you in the loop every step of the way, and also give like realistic expectations, right? We ain't just going to yes you and say, hey, yeah, we're going to get you in what you need and hit you at your budget line. The only thing we promise is full attention and effort with all of our clients. Full attention and effort to trying to get them what they want into the piece of equipment they want, qualified for the loan that they want, or whatever financial product. Full attention and effort to trying to get that accomplished, right? If we don't reach it, right, it's not for a lack of effort, right? It's just, hey, you didn't qualify. And if this is the only product that you want to do, that's okay. Let's stay in contact. Let's revisit in 6 months, or let's put together a plan to get you qualified for it, in a time, right? Like I said, we're in it for the partnership. We're not trying to, we're not in the transactional business. It's not what we're trying to do. So that's, FT3 Capital. It's a transformational experience. That's what our whole company is based on. So
love it. 2 quick notes, and then Justin, if you want to touch on any of that, just want to ask these 2 questions on it. So with the lending tree example, right? A million random different companies, probably 1,000,001 since I last checked. With you guys, you mentioned, you may be able to do it. You may not. You'll be able to be consultative, which is awesome with you guys. You can give guidance amongst funding, which is really cool. When you go shop it out to the other people, we're going to hear it through you guys, right? Or would we hear it from those other people? How does that look when it doesn't work with you all in-house directly kind of thing? You check with other people. Do we hear it and deal with you guys then on that point? Do we get referred off? How does that look?
You would deal with us every step of the way. When you get to the finish line through any type of funding, that bank or that broker is going to want to reach out and finalize some things with you. But up until the point of approval, presenting you with the rates and the terms, it'll all be done through us.
Okay. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, that feels good. Definitely feels good. Makes sense. The other aspect that I'm curious about is with your team. I mean, you guys can really whip this stuff into shape pretty quick, right? I mean, I'm hearing average turnarounds. I know it varies on the product, but it's not weeks and weeks. No?
No. I mean, depending on what type of product you are. I mean, because we do equipment financing, lines of credit, term loans. We could do SBA loans, commercial real estate loans. Like all those things have different, timelines. But for equipment financing, 3 days from app in to funded, as long as everything checks out. That's like, on a fast track if everything works, depending on if we're waiting for bank statements from the prospect or, voided check, or if we needed additional information like a tax return or something like that, that might delay the process. But typically for equipment financing, we can get the deal funded in about 3 days.
Okay. And I love with you guys, it's central. Something I deal with in the marketing world, right, is we try to cover all the bases, the stuff that's important for our clients in the demolition space. We usually can accomplish it where it's not like, for pay-per-click, we got it. But for SEO, you got to go somewhere else. If you need help with your website, we got it. It's not sending them elsewhere. With you guys, it seems rather A to Z, as in the example of equipment. They may go to the dealer and try to go through their dealer financing options, where dealers sometimes they say, hey, this is our option, just us. They're going to take a cut dealership wise. Sometimes dealers will say, here are a number of options. And then really when you think of equipment too, the only other option really is like, oh, let me go to the bank. With you guys, like you can get them from, we've already heard a number of products that you have, but they could have one relationship that then it's kind of like one-to-one, but then it splinters out on your side to capture all of these other people, markets, firms, etc. It can just be the one-to-one where you cover them on all the bases as a direct lender, of course, but then it spirals out on the back end if needed, and they can get equipment, real estate, lines of credit. I mean, so many of those things are right up the alley of demolition companies, where it's just nice. It's simple. It's not, like got to go from bank to bank and person to person. This guy, he's a banker, man. I know so many bankers, and you're like, I know you think you're smart about numbers and finance and all that, but you got no idea. Like, you guys are entrepreneurs, so you get it. These guys, they laugh at when people go under sometimes. Oh, that's great. What an idiot. I always thought his business stunk. And you guys are there like with sympathy going, hey man, I've had some ups and downs myself. Like I want to make sure that you're set up to win. I want this to be long-term. I don't want to be high-fiving my buddies because I got a commission or a fee, but it's a one-time, slam dunk, and then they're out of business or out of the game from there on after. You guys are truly bought in as partners, not as external vendors, is how I see it. What you guys have really been saying.
Oh, for sure. And I'll touch on that. A lot of the people that we do financing through, we also get them working capital loans. So it's not just financing the one piece of equipment. We can bundle loans together. We've actually done 3 different products of funding to be able to get a guy into an excavator, right? Because when it comes to depending on how long you've been in business and what your revenue is, and bank statements and all that, you got to come to the table with a down payment. Right. So if your credit's a 550, the lenders want 25, 30% down. You might not have that, right? On a $250,000 excavator, 25% of that's 50 grand, right? 60 grand. That guy might not have thought that he would need to come to the table with that. So we get creative, right? That's where alternative lending really comes into play, is that we can help them get enough money for the down payment to be able to get them into the equipment financing loan. So, there's multiple different ways. We are going to do our best, expend every avenue and every resource that we have to get you into, the end result of what you're wanting and needing for your projects.
Beautiful. Cool, guys. Well, we'll be getting your info in just a second here and signing off, but I'll leave the floor to you guys for the time being. Maybe if each of you have a few last little bits to say to leave our audience here, and then we'll share your info for how people can reach out, and then we'll sign off. Dylan, if you want to jump up round number 1 of any last little golden nuggets or things to share, and then Justin, you could cap us off and then figure out how we can get in touch with you guys.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's really what I've been saying is, we want to partner with you. We want to help you. Whatever your vision is for your company, right? We want to match the intensity of that, meet you where you're at, but also close the gap between, kind of where you're at and your potential, right? It's always about closing the gap, and trying to figure out, what's the best way to do that, through funding. We're here for the long term. If you're looking for somebody just to help you, get into one piece of equipment and never talk to them again, we're not going to be a good fit. And I have no problem telling people that at all, right? I want to work with people. I don't want to just be, in the transactional, but I want to be in the weeds of your business, right? I want to know what's going on. I want to know how I can help you. I get more fulfillment out of that, and I'm being a little selfish by saying that. But if I'm helping you grow from, a $10 million company to, a $50 million company, like, that's what gets me going. That's what makes me tick. You know what I mean? And makes me, get up in the morning and do what I do. So I'm just excited to, work with, anybody who comes through from hearing this podcast. And I really appreciate the opportunity, just to speak to you a little bit, and, just look forward to helping some entrepreneurs.
Beautiful. Justin, what you got?
Also want to touch on, there's no deal too small, right? We look any file that comes across our table, whether it's getting funding for 25,000 or whether it's getting funding for 5 million. We're going to give you the same tender loving care and support into doing whatever we can. Just like Dylan said before, you only get what you qualify for. So we're going to explain to you the different avenues that we're going to approach this. And if it's not a good fit, then we can't do anything now. Then this is what you're going to need to do, so that in 3 months we can come back, whether it's getting your credit fixed or making sure that you have revenue coming up, so that, you can prove to the banks that you are profitable. That's one thing. And just the other thing that I wanted to touch on is, we are very resourceful. We're also able to help you out with insurance. If you don't have payroll set up, we can help you out with payroll. And one thing, like just being, entrepreneur to entrepreneur, it takes a long time to get to a point where, as an entrepreneur, where you understand where now you're making money, you're making profit, but now you have some time, and now you have to start thinking about how to set up your family for success. So just to tack on to like the funding thing, we also, I also do like having conversations with these business owners on making sure that they're protecting their family. And I think that's an important thing that sets us apart from just another finance company that they can go for. We're entrepreneur to entrepreneur. I want to know if you're married. I want to know if you have kids. I want to know if you have other businesses. I want to know your entire story, so that I can really paint the picture and guide you as to what I've learned in business, and be able to share those trade secrets and little bit tidbits with anybody that I talk to.
1-to-1. and then behind you guys, you have many, kind of like all the options. One connection, I think it's really awesome. It's really unique. Definitely kind of cuts through a lot of the other stuff out there, and it just simplifies your life, you know. And I think too, like the stuff that you guys can do, like you mentioned, helping to get down payments to then qualify. Like, good luck going to your bank and trying to figure something out like that. Even if you have deep pockets, even if you have good credit and like some of these things, the bankers will look at you and they'll be like, "Are you wearing a wire right now?" I can't talk about this like that. As with you guys, you're like, yeah, like we can get creative, like, you know, as long as it's compliant and it's safe and legal, and, you know, you guys co-sign it from an aspect of being entrepreneurial and being real with people. I think it's really cool. So how can people get in touch with you guys? Website, phone number, anything you guys care to share, please do, so our audience can reach out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our website is FT3cap.com. The number to reach us at is 470-750-2855. And if you want to send us an email, it would be funding@ft3cap.com.
Awesome. Cool. All right, gang. Well, I think that rounds it out. We are going to be signing off. You guys will stay on the line. I'll be getting us off of here from a recording perspective. So thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Demolition Success Secrets. Justin, Dylan, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you for your time. Love what you're doing, buddy.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
All righty. See you, gang. Adios.
Be good. Thank you.
That's a wrap for this episode of Demolition Success Secrets. Stay tuned and subscribe for more explosive insights from our upcoming episodes. Until then, continue to blow up your demolition business and make the competition rubble in your path.